We've got a lot to talk about this week. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. It's time for that weekly mod collection demo shop update. Starting with an Earth Blue Firebird 563 reissue. This is quite fancy. Gold hardware everywhere, which you don't normally find on a Firebird 5. You get a blue bursted pickguard with a piercing red bird. And if we play with the colors a little bit, you can kind of see what you might appreciate in person. But to complement the finish, it's got a really dark fretboard. And I thought this was interesting. Just like the bird, you've got the red voodooified Gibson logo on the truss rod cover. And it is a proper Firebird reissue, so it's got the banjo-style tuners. Although, oddly, a Gibson USA case for $6,700. It was certainly different from what we've seen in previous updates. But next, a 70s Deluxe with the black gold rally finish. So they took a Deluxe, gave it P90 pickups, and gave it a pinstripe job with a clear pickguard. Looking like a hot rod for sure. Although interestingly, left the back alone, but I dig the grain on the body. Not as big of a fan of their choice of tuners though. But how's this for modern? You've got deep tawny satin. This is one of those times where a flat finish works incredibly well. We've got a Dirty Fingers in the bridge pickup, and a Birchbucker 61 in the neck, and it's loaded with fancy electronics push-pull pots for coil splits. But you've got that really flat, blacked-out headstock, and then a natural back and sides. But now the Evergreen Les Paul Custom. I didn't think the price was too bad on this one, $4,900. It's one of those unique ones that just has a bridge pickup. They completely omitted the neck. You don't have a pick guard. It's still a full Tune-O-Matic stop bar tailpiece setup, but those ambered knobs pair very well with this finish. And surprisingly, again, they're using a Dirty Fingers. As is the theme this week, natural backs everywhere, but we get a matching green stinger. They also had a brother model in a 59 reissue format in Whiskey Burst. I'm not as big of a fan of the color that they did on this one, but hey, no tone control, just volume. But it's got a 500T pickup this time with push-pull pot, with once again, a natural satin finished back, and weird looking Moto backplate. But hey, they had a Les Paul Senior hidden in here as well for $4,800. That's a really dark finish, but it looks good with the gold hardware. So it might look like a junior, but it's full body thickness. You've got your full headstock with mother of pearl logo. And while hard to see, I do believe at least the neck and headstock have a burst color to it. That one's pretty cool. But if you're hungry, try a Sugar Cookie Sparkle 58 reissue. I don't know if I'm really getting sugar cookie vibes from this one, but hey, kind of a darker sparkly silver with uncovered humbuckers. But the headstock was reamed out for modern tuners, which are locking Grovers in this case. But whoa. Demo shop serial number 27. We're into the 100s now. That one sat around. But another natural back. Here's a peculiar Tranquility Orange 80s Flying V. Double cream pickups would have looked cool in this one. Really play on the theme. I feel like we need some black racing stripes or something on this. It's a cool hue, but just a little bit boring in how it was presented. We've got one of the new SG Supremes in Cobalt Sparkle Satin. Looks like they threw a P94 in there, gave it this nice blue finish. The rest, relatively the same. Must not have been too spectacular of a flame maple top if they covered it over in a solid finish. But we've got a clear backplate on this one, with looks like upgraded wiring. But they didn't play with our chandelier at all. But if the Supremes aren't your style, they had what they called an SG standard. Yeah, we know what this is. It's a modified Captain Kirk Douglas SG, but it's called Beta Blue Metallic. So those Kirk Douglases usually had a control right here and 3 humbuckers. You can tell it's one of those because you got the rosewood board with the block inlays. So they've just covered that over. But those things were relatively expensive, so having a black and blue version's pretty nice. And at that price, can't complain, especially with a full refinish. They made the 60 standard kind of look like a studio with dark fire perimeter. It looks like they took an existing burst and just added another black layer around it. That binding just doesn't pop enough in my opinion, but the back is completely black. But how about a Spicy Mango Metallic custom? Now that's an orange hue I can get behind. It's vibrant, lively, changes colors at different angles. It's got the flashy gold hardware to complement it. Didn't go too far with a matching headstock. And hey, interesting choice to leave it a black back. I would have just called it burnt orange metallic. But this blue Velvet Explorer was pretty sweet. That's a really striking blue, but dark. Pairs well with the black pickguard, the uncovered humbuckers, all blacked out hardware on top of that. Not sure how I feel about the amber switch tip, but then we've got the black gold treatment to the tuners. And you've got the complete refinish on the back. And then a Midnight Purple 70s Flying V. It's way too dark of a purple, so it's not like the Kirk Hammett one. The back appears to be like a really raw satin finish. Like you can see the wood grain of the neck, even a little bit more clearly in this photo. But then look what they did here. Put a blank truss rod cover on it. That's usually where the Gibson logo goes, but then slapped one of the old-timey ones, Hendrix style. And then lastly, a non-reverse Thunderbird bass in a satin ebony. Looks like they removed the pick guards at the same time to give it a slightly different vibe. And then, oh my, they filled in the existing dot inlays and moved them to the edge, like so. Oh, and in case you didn't notice, they got rid of the frets too. So fretless guitar, super modified, with the headstock looking like that. I mean, it's unique, very limited audience for something like that. I feel like they should have said fretless conversion up in the title, because they're asking a pretty premium for that. Looks like they threw some flat wound strings on it too. Now let's check in with the Mod Collection EU side. Had Midnight Soiree Satin SG Tribute. I feel like we've seen this one before, but you've got the TP6 tailpiece, moto pickguard all gilded out. It looks good, especially with the continuation of the burst on the back of the headstock as well as the back of the body. The moto is a common theme throughout it, so the backplate works, and you even have the pearloid tips on the tuners. But then a Candy Bourbon 50 Standard. Looks like it has a nice metallic sheen to it, but was left relatively alone on the back. Then a special done-up in Red Horse Brown. I see what they're doing here. Instead of dog hair finish, they're calling it a horse. You don't see many gold pickup covers for P90 pickups, but you got that on the wrap tail as well. Not the most exciting, but this one was cool enough to sell. Multi-chrome Sparkle 70s V. I mean, look, you've got the Grace Potter signature Flying V style outline on the pickguard. You might not have noticed this at first. The tips are actually a darker color than the sparkle everywhere else. Looks like maybe even just the edges of the guitar are trying to mimic what they did with the pickguard there. And if you go to the back, sure enough, same thing here, also up there. And then up here you get a giant black void of a stinger. And yeah, your headstock's equally as cool with painted on binding. And a really unique truss rod cover. Ooh, I really especially appreciate the side here. So yes, indeed, the very edges are left black, but then it kind of creates this interesting king's crown phenomenon that you'll see while you're playing. I feel they priced that one maybe a little bit too low. And then I'm pretty sure we've seen this before in the USA collection, 345 Firefly Sparkle finish. I think it's cool. It's got like a gold glitter but very black effect at the same time. You know, fireflies lighting up throughout the sky. But then your headstock is lightly greened over, but you have that continuation all over the guitar. But now that it's in the EU mod collection, they take other photo angles to help bring it out. So here's an idea of what it will look like when the sun hits it. But now the USA demo shop. There was a standard 50s that they put P94 pickups in that had a cool back. There was a rather unique Les Paul custom for only $4,400 that was 70s-ified. So we've got the uncovered pickups, but the back, oh yeah, that looks good. Start doing that again, Gibson. It's got the teardrop shape there on the back of the neck, headstock. I would imagine it might even be along the edges. This is what the people want. They had one of the BB King Lucille Legacy models, but it's a really dark finish. You can hardly tell it's a figured. But this Hummingbird custom I'd never seen before. So A, we don't have any pickguard on it, but you've got abalone trim everywhere. But look at this headstock. You got a little hummingbird going for his flowers there, super fancy tuner tips that were etched. I love animal-influenced guitars. However, for me, I'm just not a fan of the way that hummingbird looks. Because usually if I saw something like this, I'd be like, all right, whip me up a Les Paul custom like that and I'll be happy. But I feel like they needed to do more with the hummingbird, like play with some abalone for its belly and maybe its eye. Because just all done up as mother of pearl just doesn't quite have the same effect. Like they did it for the flowers. But in case you didn't notice, you've got all these weird, crazy custom inlays. That's very fascinating. There's also an Epiphone USA Frontier that I found interesting. And one of those super blingy, sparkly, heavy gold flake things that are a Gibson.com exclusive. So to find one at I think a very slight discount. If I remember correctly, these are about $8,000 brand new. But those are in your face sparkly. But then they also had a Gibson Dave Mustaine songwriter. And then the European demo shop, they had a small handful of guitars. The only thing that interested me was the Kebmo 3.0. It's a fun little title. I don't really know anything about this one, but hey, it's a fun little smaller sized acoustic. And similar thing for the UK demo shop. Just a small handful. With another USA Frontier standing out from the Epiphone division. Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed the recap this week. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.